Okay, so once again, welcome to everyone here. My name is Favor Uwaifo. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and the studio administrator for Ant-Man Studios of Art. So quickly, I want to introduce our father. I call him a father because he is. Speaking with him yesterday showed that he's beyond just an artist that has made wave in the industry. He is a father. When you are hearing him today, you understand that he did not just come to facilitate. He came because he is concerned for young creatives.
We are going to talk about the business of art, but that will be the second lecture. The first lecture will be on the evolution of contemporary art. Why am I, why did I put the business of art as the second lecture? Because first and foremost, we are artists. And later, we are businessmen when we start becoming successful, right? We are not first businessmen that decided to do arts. Because some people are businessmen that decide to do art. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because at core, we are artists. And at the end of the day, we must make money out of our art too, right? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll quickly go through this. Why contemporary art? When I spoke with the director of the residency and this Ant-Man Studios, he was emphatic about the fact that we need to be globally compliant, right? We can't just be champions locally. It's good to be champions locally, but is that enough? No, it's not enough because you're gifted. Nigeria is, I lecture, so I have to do a bit of research on different countries and that, but you can't compare the talent Nigeria has with most places, even in other continents. This country, God has blessed you with so much of talent, so much. So it means that you're going to be responsible for that talent. You're going to give account for that talent. Okay? So that is why it's a serious business. It's not just, because I love to draw and paint or I love to sculpt. It's a responsibility. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a journey into contemporary art. Does anyone know what this is? Okay, so now that is not good. Why it is not good is that you need to be in touch with other African artists that are doing some mind-blowing things and scattering global art spaces. Of course, if I mention the name now, you say, we know him, right? But it's not enough to know his name because that's what happens most often. We know the names and we say, hey, this guy is strong, but we don't know about their works. We don't study their works. We don't understand their trajectories. So how many of you have heard of Ibrahim Mahama? Ibrahim Mahama. Only one person. Hey, bring Ken. I need to give Ken to everybody here. 2 people. 3 people. Okay. So Ibrahim Mahama is one of the younger generation of African artists from Ghana. This was one of his first major installations. Right now, he works with sax. So what do you call an artist that works with sax? Is he a painter? Is he a sculptor? What is he? Installation, okay. I'm beginning to start diluting our strongly held beliefs in our mind. Okay? Now let's move to the next slide. So I'm going to start with jumping globally, and then we're going to come back to Nigeria. We're going to build it from heritage, before the colonials, into colonial period, post-colonial, into contemporary art. Quickly look at examples and look at the evolution and help you to get yourself into context and ask yourself, where do I belong? How do I face the future? What will my trajectory look like? I'm treating this again, I'm saying it again, so that you will be able to put yourself in the story of this great story of Nigerian artists who are making global impact. So you're going to ask yourself, Where do I stand? How do I adjust myself? And what will the future be like? Next slide, please. Usually the term the art of today is contemporary art. Okay, when I was privileged to go to the Royal College to study contemporary art, and when I got there, they scattered my brain because they told me that contemporary art is the art of today. It wasn't that it came from somewhere, I belong to a particular, the art of today. So what are the things that make it the art of today? From the late 20th century to now, it follows modern art. Okay, we all know about the modern. How many of us have gone through tertiary education in art here? Please, can I see you so I know what to skip and what to face? If you have been through university or college of education or polytechnics, can I see your hand up? Okay, so, all right, please put your hands down. So how many of you know the difference? When I say modern art, it's a little different from contemporary art. Do you know the difference? The modern art is just pre-colonial, colonial, you know, that period, right? Contemporary is nowadays. Okay, so I don't want to get into too much English. This is one of Mahama's works again. The material here are old hospital beds. So you want to call it an installation, Abi? All right, and give it different titles, no problem. Okay, so there's no singles now. This is what I was taught. There was no single style or medium. Artists often challenge what is art, what art can be. Themes commonly include culture, identity, globalization, sustainability, social critique, etc. Unlike traditional art defined by mediums, techniques, and patronage, contemporary artists freely draw on personal, political, cultural, and pop cultural sources. What do I mean? If you were born into a particular time, or if you went to school, they will tell you, you're a painter, right? Specialize in painting, or you specialize in sculpture, right? Or you specialize in this or that. But contemporary art specializes in you, not your medium. Your medium is a tool. So it's possible to do an artwork that has photography and sound and a sculpture. Do you think it's possible? Yes. That's contemporary art. Because what you're trying to project is yourself. What you're trying to project is the narrative you want to establish. Is not to call yourself a painter or a sculptor or a person that does installation. So you are the focus. Themes commonly, so, if you look at the old works, for example, Mona Lisa, I'm taking a very old work, or take Caravaggio, take Monet, take anybody. They weren't so caught up with the philosophy behind the artwork or the thought behind the artwork. They were trying to make pretty pictures that are very attractive, right? Now, it doesn't stop you from making pretty pictures, but the question is that what is more important nowadays is the thought process behind the work. Yesterday we had a chat. We were talking about thought process and how important it is to document these things. So nowadays, they are not only looking at art, they are looking at the artists.
Also.
So the way I dress, the way I'm dressing is not because I just had to put on a pair of trousers and wear. This is a very deliberate act. When I'm going to give a lecture in some other place, I would dress in a suit, right? But here I decided to dress this way because I'm projecting a narrative. So it not only dressing, your entire life comes under scrutiny now as a contemporary artist. What is your story? What's the story you want to project? What's the narrative you want the world to get from you? How do you see yourself as a shaper of contemporary culture? You're not just somebody that draws pretty pictures or carves beautiful sculptures or takes lovely photographs. You are those things, but more importantly, you as a person becomes an artwork now. So nowadays you have issues. So now we are drawing on personal, political, pop cultural things. Things on identity, globalization, sustainability, social critique. We're getting engaged, and this thing is not that anybody sat down to orchestrate it. This Gen Z now, many of you are Gen Z, send, right? You guys, you question everything. And the other day, somebody my age was saying, they're too extra. I said, but if they're extra, have you related with them to see how we could work together? I want to learn from everybody. All right? So it's related to so many things. Technology has made the world flat. What it means is that it has given you guys access like no other generation. At the palm of the hand of your palm is a phone. And that phone is able to connect it's a super efficient computer. It can go anywhere in the world and it can do anything. None of us had that. Monet did not have that. Aino Nubolu did not have that. Ben Enwomo did not have that. Right? Okay. So it emerged after World War II with movements like abstract expressionism, pop art, performance art, conceptual art, evolving into today's diverse global scene. So contemporary art is meant to reflect on our current moment. You are a reflection of the current moment, its conflicts, its diversity, and its rapid change. That is who you are. What's your name? Oluwasegun, come. When you look at him, I want him to be an example of what we met the current moment in Nigeria, globally. I'm just taking a sample from among the crowd. He's not just Oluwasegun. And that's the picture I want you to have in your mind. Okay? I want you to realize that it could be any of you. Please sit down. It could be any of you. Oluwasegun gives you a particular perspective to contemporary context. Stand up. What's your name? Ogo, come. This lady gives you another perspective to contemporary culture. She gives you her perspective. It's different from his perspective. Please have your seat. Let me have one other person. Come. Because I want you to have images in your mind. All this text is good. You can always read it. See, do you see that they're dressed differently? Do you see he's uniquely different from him? And is uniquely different from her? Right? So it means that he's going to project a very different narrative. Where did you school? Where did you school? Okay. So you will see Yabatek. You will see Uniben here. But it will go way beyond Yabatek and Uniben. In times past, you will see, you get school, you get this thing to, I'm from this school. Or I follow this master. But in the days that are going to unfold now, it's not so much the school. You will see it. You will see the masters that they worked under, but you will see the person. All right? All right, go back, sit down. Thank you. So now, next slide, please. I need to establish that. After that, I can move forward quickly. Now, I just took some examples of postmodernism. Who knows which one this is? Andy Warhol? Who is this? Damien Hirst, right? Basquiat. I know all of you say Basquiat. All of you know Basquiat. Everybody knows Basquiat. Do you know this one? This is Marina. So this is a performance artist. She brought in that angle of performance. But what I'm saying is that this one is crazy. He started using dead bodies of animals. Is that a medium? Is that so? Anything that is happening now, we just call it installation. So at least we have a description for it. Is it an installation or is it a sculpture? Okay. Who says it's a sculpture? Who says an installation? Everybody agrees. All right. All right. So you can see that the terminology, we used to use a lot of words to describe and box our ideas. But what's happening is that things are being scattered. So at the same time, you shouldn't let those things make you afraid. But it should also make you proud and arrogant. Some of us, we're a bit older, we've had to straddle the older generation and the younger generation. Okay? I'm not old like Baba Bruce, or like who are the others now? Give me an example now. Well, I look older than I look old. So, but we've also had to learn to combine our individuality, at the same time be humble enough to learn from the older generation and stay connected to them so that we do not remove ourselves from those sources. Okay? Because sometimes it's possible that you get so carried away by what you do, and some people say that's how it is. Well, fine, but I just feel that you must learn the balance. That because when it gets to the business of art, you will understand balance. Okay, so next slide, please. So I started saying, okay, post 1945, artists increasingly experimented beyond figurative painting. Conceptual art and performance art question the nature of art itself, like Duchamp, ready-made rose. You will see Duchamp in the next slide. Now, one characteristic was that of contemporary art is that it will start questioning the nature of art itself. Don't be afraid. Thank God for our fathers. Thank God we have a heritage. Thank God we have art schools. Thank God we have mentors, right? But it will question, you'll be amazed, you will see in the days and the weeks and the months to come, the way these guys will push these things. All right? Multiplicity of media, materials, and styles. Spans painting, sculpture, installation, video, performance, digital art. Unifying thread is that it is the art of our time. So it could be photography. So now the question comes, am I going to be jumping from one medium to the other? You know how the next set of questions. We had a conversation yesterday again. He was asking me so many questions. So I was telling him that, yes, no, when it comes to that, what you should do is that every artist has different phases of their lives, right? You evolve gradually and you evolve into one thing. Of course, the young, not so mature artists will double into everything and just be doing, but if you're a structured, reasonable artist, you will do your bodies of work that will be documented. So it will be easy to see the trajectory. So even if you're working with different mediums, we must be able to read the trajectory. We must be able to read your story through all these exercises you do, artistic exercises. I don't want to get into that detail now, but what I wanted to establish was the fact that do not be limited if you needed to use another medium. But at the same time, be mature as to be able to document and know how to tell your story. Why you do what you do. You understand what I'm saying? You need to be able to tell people why you do what you do. If I decide to go outside now and say, like it happened, I was in Turkey last year and I hung two of the gloves I was using at the residency on the canvas. So when people say, why am I mean, this could be an artwork, right? And I could just take this and decide to, but I must be able to defend it and say, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, another thing is there's massive globalization. Because of technology, we are being interconnected, connected anyhow. So the influences you're having, when I was your age, I didn't have a phone in my hand like this. Do you have friends from outside this country you got to know from the internet? Do you have friends from outside this country you got to know from the internet? From Facebook, from Instagram, Facebook? I didn't have any of those people. The only one we knew was pen pal. You know pen pal? You write letter. Maybe once or twice in your life, they say there's one pen pal list. You send your You have a friend in Japan, it will take 1 month for the letter to go there. By the time it takes another one for the this thing to come, NIPOS will lose it somewhere else. That was our level of interaction. But you guys, with this phone now, there's nowhere you cannot go. There's nobody you cannot see that has a phone. The only thing is the level of access they've given you to themselves, right? So this globalization's impact is having an impact on art. Globalization is having a massive impact on art. So we can't contain art to the former definitions. Do we understand? Okay. So artists travel, exhibit, collaborate worldwide. Non-Western perspectives enter the mainstream. Museums and collectors now seek diverse voices. So not only the artists, now the collectors too have started developing a taste for diversity. They too, they're not, if you think you have seen collectors, you have not seen collectors. One of my areas of study is the high net worth global art market. That is the people that have a minimum net worth of $1 million. If I start telling you statistics from those people, you ask yourself that the one you call a collector is not a collector. These ones, they have Nigerians inside it. They have people. Anyway, let's look at the next slide, please. So, yes, have you seen this before? Who has not seen it before? If you have not seen it, let me see your hand. There's nothing wrong if you didn't see it. This guy woke up one day and decided to use an old latrine where you go and piss as his artwork and scatter the whole thing. Right? But Marcel Duchamp was one of the pioneers of conceptual art. What he said was that his idea is more important than the medium at the end of the day. And you could use any medium. All right? These were all the birth pangs of this contemporary art at that time, when access between countries, between artists, between communities, between societies was happening. So people began to question things. I mean, I think this is at the Tate in London, the Tate Modern, and I had to be looking at that toilet. I'm like, these guys are your bulldo. And now he's in the Tate Modern. Sorry. I think, okay. Of course, you know who this is. I know. You look at the way. I know. This is Kara Walker. Have you heard of Kara Walker? One of the older people that started experimenting with more of installation, like something like what Pedro Alatishe does. But somebody, maybe my own age kind of person. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to go a bit, like I said, the flow is more from heritage into modernism and then into global contemporary. So contemporary art is not just a reflection of current society, it actively shapes our perceptions. Now, this is where there's a very strong defining factor, and I need you guys to pay attention. Please don't be tired, because I know it's hot. I want you to absorb these things into you. I want you to leave this place changed. I want to be able to say that I look at you in some weeks, months, and say, wow, that from what you're doing, you've started on a journey that is going to be different. So you're not just, okay, let me take an example. Which one can I use? Okay, I can use this artwork behind me, or they may not see it. Okay, let me use, is this your work? No. Okay, this is her work. Now, I love the beauty of her creation, right? But contemporary art means now that if she did this today, not then, and after you have heard this lecture, I will expect you to shape our perceptions. I don't want you to stop as creating a beautiful. I want you to find a way to shape our perceptions, change our beliefs to a more positive one. Let me put it that way. Some people want to change the belief to a negative one, right?
Yes.
It's not everybody that's changing belief to. As we are talking like this, there are people, artists that are doing things to guide us in another direction. So we need to know that we have to become positive influences as contemporary artists. And I want this work to influence cultural trends. That's the demand I'm putting on you. When you leave this place or when you go back to your canvas or you go back to your sculpture, ask yourself, how am I going to use this work to shape perception, challenge beliefs, and influence cultural trends? Will it be enough for you to just do the artwork and walk away? No, because I said the first artwork is you. The artwork is a baby you gave birth to. It's a product of yours. Your artwork is a product of yours, right? Is an offspring of yours. But you need to now use those offsprings or those your products to become the objects that you use to tell your stories. Meaning that you need to be able to defend, you need to be able to know why you do it. You need to know the materiality, why you use that. You need to be able to say, this is what I hope to achieve by doing this work. We can say that this work also belongs to this particular body of works because they interrogate a particular subject. Do you understand? I don't know if I'm making progress. I'm just talking and talking. I want you to come to that understanding that your artwork is not the end. Your artwork is a tool to the end. The end is you projecting yourself, shaping perceptions, challenging beliefs, and influencing cultural trends. Over the past few decades, contemporary art has emerged as both a powerful form of expression and a significant vehicle for social change. When Monet was painting, he was not planning to change the country, was he? No. When Picasso was doing his thing, they were making, what they wanted to make. But we are in a time, this time, we have fallen into this time. Our story is different, guys. Otherwise, you will remain a local champion, no? If you only want to remain a local champion, there's no problem. Can you let me see your hands? So I know that these are the people that just want to remain local champion. No hands up. So everybody wants to be a global champion. If you want to be a global champion, you need to start thinking globally. This is how these guys are thinking. Okay. I don't want to get, because of time, I would have gotten into the idea of the banana with the tip. But I won't get into that now. All right? Because that's under the business of art. I will tell you that was not meant for any serious art collector. The guy is the guy deeply into crypto and he's trying to move his, the guy that bought that work wanted to move his crypto and he was looking for a controversial artist.
Yeah.
So we are in a time when you can be used. Okay. Because if you enter public thoughts and you are a person that is shaping culture, you're challenging beliefs, are influencing perceptions, you can be used. So you need to know who you are and what you're projecting and project the positive, please. Make up your mind to project the positive. All right, next slide, please. This thing is scattered though. No, these are just heritage examples of the Benin bronze works, Nok, Benin works. I was just saying that, I just lumped everything as heritage, right? In that period. Then came when we were colonized, right? So when we were colonized, they came and helped set up art schools. So what happened was they began to tell us that this is art history. But we did not have the opportunity to study our own history. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So they told us this is the movement between 18 something and something. This is the movement between 15 something and 16 something, right? Mm-hmm. So we began to learn and feel that, okay, so that is the history of art. Did anybody tell you the history of Nok? How they got to this point? No. Did they tell you how they did the Benin? No. How they did it? They didn't tell us. That was left for researchers like Ogochukwu that are researching on, that's doing PhD on history of African art. But what is happening is that you guys are born into a generation and you have so much at your fingers, you are beginning to question things. Right? You're beginning to question things and why? Why? And you're now beginning to search because you have access by reason of technology to research. You have access to be able to look for data, information. So you're upsetting things. But I want you to continue to upset positively. That's why I keep adding. It's a delicate balance. All right? So, next slide, please. Examples of Aina Onobolu, 1882 to 1963, pioneered Western style portraiture, right? As I'm talking, you can be checking online if you want to, so that if you want to be checking, say, okay, you can just Google Western style portraiture of Aina Onobolu, you will see. You had Gerard Sekoto of South Africa painted expressive scenes of black urban life under apartheid in Paris. These are people that began to start complaining by saying, or start showing that they are concerned about certain things. But then fused Igbo cosmology and British formalism. Iconic sculptor of Queen Elizabeth II. Right? Next slide, please. So, Aina Onobolu. Of course, if you went to art school and you don't know this, I will ask you to walk out. Whose work is this? Eh? Eh? What's the title of this work? Tutu. Thank God he said all of you. He quickly said Tutu. Okay, this is Gerard Sokoto's work. All right, next slide, please. Now, then came the art schools. Of course, the colonials came, they set up the structures and they set up art schools. So, we now had the rise of African voices in art schools. So, you had people that, you had the Zaria rebels, for example, right? You had the Nsukka school, you had the people in Ife. You had different schools. And the schools came with schools of thought. So if you now start looking at people that came from Nsukka, you begin to see certain similar things, right? Yes. People that came from Benin, you begin to see some things that are similar. Okay, let me ask a question. What is a strong point of Benin products? Sculpture. You can't deny it. They smack sculpture in your face. It's in their body. If you talk about AB, what is it? Painting. Huh? Painting, yeah, and playing with colors, yeah. Painting, yeah. Painting, yes. But they like to be experimental. Expression. Yeah, they like to experiment even with material. Nsukka. Installations. Mixed media, yes. Ife. Wood carving, thank you, yes. Metal, and because of Dr. and Co, now you start adding. But yes, you're right. You're right. They have a bit more, Unilag. Painting, yes. And impasto, yes. Textiles too, to some degree, yeah. So you can see that. So the schools began to have their influences, right? Right, and then so I want to realize that you can't now rest on that and say, oh, that's where I am, because the big boys out there don't know Unilago, they don't know Univeno. It's not by school they know you. I mean, outside the country, you're talking contemporary terms. You can't be using that one to brag. All right, so you can't rest on that. You can't say, oh, I'm a follower of Benewongu. There's nothing wrong. I'm just saying that if you want to play at the game internationally, you can't just say I'm a follower of him. They'll say, good, well done. They will buy your works. But you won't enter if I give you some stats, I'll give it to you when I'm teaching the second thing. You will realize why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay? So the rise of the African voice in art schools, post-independence, shift from representation to personal, political, and cultural narrative, it began to happen. Unlike the people that were just facing portraiture, scenery, they began to start questioning, start doing things, So it happened. So examples: Bruce Onobrakwe, printmaker, developed plastograph, relief technique, influenced generations. Uche Okoke merged Igbo Uli design into modernist practice. Key Nsukka group figure. Demas Uwoko, painter, architect, and dramatist exploring Afrocentric aesthetics. Presently, is one of the areas I'm studying as an artist. I'm studying his work as part of the reference of living spaces and built environments. One of the things I'm studying now is how living spaces and built environments shape humans. Because we live in a phone or we live in the virtual world, we forget that we are physical beings. There's a possibility that we begin to forget that we are physical beings. So even the phone is a material thing, but we live so much in our head in the virtual world, we forget. And I'm trying to bring people back and say, come, calm down. We are material beings. These places, this space, for example, these walls have heard so many things. There's a spirituality to this place. You can't take it away. Even after all of you leave as artists, there's something that remains here. Right? There's a memory. Do we understand? Okay. So, Skunda Bogosian, First Contemporary African Western Museums Collections, Mystical Symbolism. Let's see the slide. Yeah, so you see Bruce. This is Demas. That is Uche Okeke. This is Bogosian. So you could see, no, please let's rush. Okay, so you could see their works then. Okay, for me, I still appreciate their works because people like Uche Okeke, Bruce, they were Bruce and his going to mythology, folklore in Delta, Roboland, got a lot of global attention, because of what he was doing, which okay to work as well. So, okay, next slide, please. Then, between 1990s to 2000, contemporary art started to emerge. And you had the likes of Ella Natsui. You see sculpture now suddenly taking on a slightly different form, not having the usual figuration that we are used to, right? And look at the patterns on this thing. It kind of derived from something that was there before, but he contemporized the thing and made it very modern. This could go anywhere in the world and sit in any sitting room. It won't scare anybody. So he knew what he was doing. So increased global visibility, biennales, residencies started happening. Artists started engaging memory, identity, ecology, global force. Now we started looking deeper into the concept of sustainability, environmental sustainability, global trade. People like Mahama, why he uses sacks is because cocoa was taken in sacks and goods were brought back in sacks. So the sacks were vehicles. So he's using the sacks to get our attention to interrogate different issues and subjects. So what he does, he will take an entire building. That the first picture you saw was in Ghana. That's their national theater. But the next thing, he was all over the world, covering the whole thing with sack. But he won't just do it in anyhow. There's a way he combines it that makes it aesthetically pleasing, that gets your attention and stops you in your tracks. Right? So that's the beauty of the contemporary expression. So, sorry. Go back. Now, this period was when we began to see a lot of rise in new materials and concepts. There were before, but on our own side, we began to see a lot of new ones. Next slide, please. So you had the likes of Ella Natsui, started using liquor bottle tops, woven into shimmering textile tapestries. Have you seen Ella Natsui's very large tapestries? Yes. All those are bottle tops or cans, you understand, like fabrics made out of waste. You had Shoni Barry using Dutch wax fabrics like Ankara on mannequins and objects to question colonialism. So he will use the figures of, and maybe the shoes of Western people, maybe British people. They will now clothe them in Ankara. So of course, anybody looking at it will say, this feels European, but he will make you question. But this is not European. So what is it? The question is it African? If you look at this, would you call this African? So the question now that is now you're more interested in how the idea behind it is actually causing the impact rather than that I'm a fabric artist or that I'm a sculptor that can sculpt somebody that can be climbing on a ladder. Do you understand? Okay. Then you had Romuald Huzame, Jerrycan Mass critiquing oil politics. So you see the picture in the next one. Just calm down. So Carrie Douglas was one of the people that started using metal initially, before the likes of Dr. Popola came to refine the thing and take it to another level. All right? So welded steel figures rooted in Kalabari traditions and environmental activism. In fact, her work made me even go and research on the Kalabari. So such artists were actually having effect on the public and by doing what they were doing. Okay? So next slide, please. So you can see, these are all African artists. Now you can see the materiality has changed. It's not different from what we saw in the time of the modernists, right? Okay. So you see Shonibare doing astronauts flying in space in Ankara. This guy using jerry cans that carry petrol and oil, creating globes. This is Ella Nasri's work. This is the other guy's work. Next slide, please. So what I now did was I first talked about the particular phases in time, right? But I now want to focus on materiality a bit more and mediums so that it will give you a bit more, it will help you it will kind of help you bridge between what I'm saying and what you had read before, was explained before. That there are people using drawing and painting and sculpture. I want to give examples now, okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are we making progress? Yes. I've been talking, I'm trying to finish the slide, so I'm not coming down. And I hope I'm making all right. Okay, so let me see your sense of business of art. Who are the two biggest selling artists in 2024 in Africa? Huh? No. Amuko is one of the highest, yes, but it's not. 2024, I said it. No, not Akil. Akil is also one of the top prices, but it's not. Julie Meretru. The two top selling artists in Africa are females as 2024. One of them is Julie Meretru from Ethiopia. She makes abstract story maps. Please, you can Google while I'm talking because it's not very clear here, but I don't want you to lose out on the. So you can just JuliMehretru. She's an Ethiopian female artist. What interests me about Julie Meretru is Julie's country, Ethiopia, was never colonized. So I wanted to study how her art is because it means that they didn't really have such a colonial influence. So if you look at her works, they're very abstract. Very abstract. So it shows me that some of those things might have played a part. Injudika is here, yes. Collage style paintings of diasporic interiors and familial intimacy. What do you mean by familial intimacy? You know what diasporic is, right? Diaspora. Yes. But what is familial intimacy? Since you know Dora, Akinyele's daughter, tell me what's her work, initial body of work, what is it? What is it mostly, what are the themes surrounding that? Sorry? Okay, it's actually about her family. That's why I say familial connection. She explores she and her husband and her family in her paintings. She married one Oyibo man. So if you look carefully, you see that it's sitting room pictures. Then she takes pictures and she does layering. So if you look at Akinyele's work now, what will you call it? A painting? What will you call it? Digital art, mixed media. You know, so That's what I'm saying. I don't want you to get so caught up on your mediums or your movements or your schools. They're important. We acknowledge them. We respect them, right? But you're more than that. You are the defining factor, not your medium, not your school. Okay? You had Candy Wiley recasting black subjects in old master poses, right? He started doing that, and that's what got him attention. And before we knew it, in Nigeria, we started drawing black faces everywhere, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And some collectors too say, yeah, this is the latest trend. Those are not real collectors, man. If you know the real collectors, you know. These are guys that can easily drop 500,000 US dollars, 1 million US dollars. Say, what? And they buy because they can. We'll get you the distance of that. Toyin Odutola, lush drawings that build alternate black history. Alternate black history. He asks you, this is what exists as black history. How about if it was like this? Through Yoruba mythology. Peju Alatishe, of course you know him, right? So you have symbolic narratives about gender, memory, and mythology, right? Cheryl Samba, pop style paintings with satirical commentary and text. Ablade Glover, I just put this one in because he's an older person, but Ablade Glover was somebody that, how many of you know Ablade Glover? Hey. What is making me concerned is the fact that you can go through school for 4 years, but there's a world out there. You can't just be doing your schoolwork. You need to know what is happening, who is doing what. Okay, I'm just going to say that now. So Glover was an older artist, but he is somebody who I think contemporized, who stylized, who made. He tried to kind of abstracted African modernism. In the time of modernism, he abstracted things. So that's why I put him here. Next, so these are painters, people that used to draw and paint. So that's why I just put this list for you. So to help you see that even your mediums, there's nothing wrong with your mediums. How to use them, right? How to be adventurous with it. All right, next one. So Achilles' work, you see that I think this she and her husband, maybe her father and her sister are here. She just takes pictures and she now brings so much of familiar, all these are photographs. This is Odutola. This is Meretu. Okay? Next slide, please. Who knows whose work this is? Because this house is full of sculptors, I know. Whose work is that? That's Nena Okore's work. Okay, another big female international artist. All right, she works with fabric. She works with fibers. Was there a course on fiber art in your university?
Yes.
No, there wasn't. So this is a game you're going to have to play. So innovation from waste, textiles, and industrial forms. When you say industrial forms, even what you mean are things that you throw away from industries can be used. There are many, many types of industrial forms. Commentary on globalism, tradition, sustainability. So here I use to show that there are people that do sculpture installation and using recycled materials and stuff. Please, next slide. I gave some example. El Anasui using reconceptualized, things like the bottle tops, cans. Ibrahim Mahama drapes buildings in old cocoa sacks, critiques trade and labor. Nena Okorie uses burlap, cloth, paper to build organic, biodegradable forms. Bright Ugochukwu. How many of you know Bright Ugochukwu? You're elected. Bright Ugochukwu uses plastic bags and rainwater to create eco-critical installations. Shonibare again. I repeated these ones because their work are significant. This Shonibare again. Confusing people out there by dressing Oimbo figures with Oimbo dresses, but with done in Ankara. Okay, next slide, please. So Mahama using sacks on buildings. This is Uchuku. This is, of course, you know who this is. Who is this? All of you know. See, that's the answer all of you give. I will tell Dotun that it's only him they know. Dotun is also a good case study on business. He's a friend, but it's also a good case study on the business of art. I know there are many talented sculptors. He's talented as sculptor just like many others, but in terms of business sense. So is Mahama. Next slide, please. So this is Wangechi Mutu's work. There's a guy in Nigeria that does this sort of work. Do you know him? He's even in your... Sorry? That his work is in your face.
Okay, yes.
With the eyes and the photo collage. So photography, performance art, digital art, addressing representation, activism, digital future. So you can see collages, digital as well as physical collages. Next slide, please. So examples, Ida Mulune of Ethiopia. I wish you could see this clearly, wings. Symbolic portrait photography with painted models. Zalel Muli of South Africa, black queer visibility. Queer, all this LGBTQ, WXYZ, through stage portraits. Okay? Wangechi Mutu, collage video and sculpture on femininity and futurism. Leila Ajovi, Benin, Senegal, narrative photography that reclaims historical agency. That's this. This photography. But her photography that she will set up the sets. And it's one shot. Boom. But that set is a set. Emeka Ogbo, sound installations capturing Lagos soundscapes. You see it in the slide. Samson Kambulu, conceptual Yamuk cinema performances. The first day I entered the Tate Modern in London, it has several galleries inside. It's 6 or 7 story structure. So the first one I entered, I think first and second, well, photography and sound installation together. So I was like, now, wow, you people, you don't even have painting as the first place you meet or sculpture like that. Serious installation, sound effects, Otopo Nkanga, mixed media works on land extraction and memory. Next slide, please. So, this is the guy that uses film cinema. This is the one that works with sound installation. This pan that women on the road, they used to sell, they put it on their head. So you use that and now put speakers. And he will give you Lagos sounds. So these are all, this is analyst work using combs. So her work also kind of borders on contemporary fashion. So next slide, please. Now, having gone through the phases of different ages of the art journey and coming into some mediums and materials, let's focus on ourselves. Nigeria and West Africa. Nigeria is a powerhouse of cultural depth and global reach. They know outside this country. They know. In fact, there's an 11% interest by high net worth collectors, that is people that are operating to $1 million up in African art. But sales in African art is not up to 1%. So that's where when it comes to the business issue, you now start asking yourself what went wrong or what is going wrong. Ghana, Senegal, Benin, Ivory Coast, rising international discourse. It's not just Nigeria. You know how it is now. We will say we are the giant of Africa, and suddenly we realize that they'll come and beat me with football. Bam! Yeah, you're not the only giant. They can do giant. Okay. I put this picture particularly because this is very personal. Here we are talking contemporary art, right? But if you go along the river Niger, across West Africa, you see women taking pigments, decorating their houses, will they ever be studied? They have very complex art forms in their homes. They beautify their homes and their living spaces. Will what happened to us before, when our heritage art was not studied and was not given due attention, happen again in this period, when we are so connected globally and we are moving at a global pace, and we forget that there are people that cannot afford a phone, but they're also artists. I just put that there because maybe one or two of you, it will touch your heart. Some of you will be curators, some of you will be art writers, some of you will be art historians, some of you will be researchers, some of you will be lecturers. And you may take on some of these subjects, all right, and explore them. And maybe that is your own artistic journey. Okay? Next slide, please. So I gave some examples of, I had to put Mama Nike because she revived textile art as a global medium to consider now. She was a bridge between art and fashion. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
She took textile art, made herself a bridge with all her big gele up and down, up and down. She's my friend though. And she now brought it to fashion. Now, young fashionistas decided to take it to another level. But we need to give her her due acknowledgement. Pejulai will have, Prof, she's in the US right now. Sculpture, but she's like a mentor to me, like a big sister. She's one of the curators in an American museum right now. Her uncle was a former Oba of Benin. Her mom was a master sculptor who built some of the sculptures in this city, public sculptures. And she's an authority on textiles globally. Of course, you know Mr. Victor Hikemeno, another product of this city. Good afternoon. Whose then symbolic drawings, paintings, motifs, and sculpture installation, who has an illustrious career and is somebody who has brought an institution like Black Muse to the city to also show as an example, we can use as an example of the emerging power of icons. Ibrahim Mahama, had to put him there. Omar Ba, complex narratives combining African flora and political critique. I just put these things to let you know that there are people you know, there are people you can connect. They're not spirits, but they have become contemporary artists. Even Mama Nike has become a contemporary artist. But several years ago, Mama Nike was a textile artist doing her thing in one corner, right?
Yes, sir.
But now, that her gele alone is an artwork. You know, the gele is like this sometimes. She'll come for events in Abuja. I'll just be looking at Mama. When Mama turns like this, you can't see who's behind. You have to be done it. And she's so sweet, so humble. My God. Two people I've learned humility from. Papa Bruce Onomwekwe and from Mama. They are great too. They are global figures, but man, they're always a reference in my head. If I want to start feeling high, I remember. And as artists, we must learn to be humble. Otherwise, God's wisdom, thing that's supposed to come like rain, will be coming like, drizzle. Okay, so this is Mahama's installation at Rockefeller Institute. He used sacks to make flags of the different countries that were represented at a particular event. Of course, he got everybody thinking, I use sacks, and made the flags out of sacks. All right, next slide. So Mama, Prof. Pejulai Wala, Omar Ba. Look at this work by Mr. Victor Ehikameno. It is a classic example of contemporizing. He took, you know what this is, right? You can't be in Benin and not know what this is. But he took out the features. In fact, there were 2 or 3 of them he did. The other one, he even left the runners that they used to send in the metal. And the thing became like a decoration. The elegance is amazing. All right, next slide. Now, Oluwole's work is $100,000 or $200,000, $80,000. He was the last artist to paint the Queen, right? Before her demise. And he puts one sort of Ankara thing on her. And the king had to invite him over. So, we are about to finish. Advice for emerging artists. Tell your own story because you are the primary artwork. Local and personal realities that resonate globally. This is very important. You want to take a picture of my hand. Local and personal realities, okay, I'm just joking. Resonate globally. Stay in touch with global trends. So you must be a bridge between the local and the global. You can't be too local because it will restrict your market access, it will restrict your influence. You can't be too global that they will not recognize you here again. No. You say, these are some, we can't recognize you. No. Innovate with materials and techniques, not just themes. You know, it's easy to change topic now. Today, I'm doing women in distress. Tomorrow, I can change the name, but material is not so easy to change materials. But again, like I said, it must be a process documented over a period of time of exploration. Not that you just take, today is your this, tomorrow you're that. Seek residencies, collective learning. When I say residency, I'm talking about collective learning experiences. Platforms, biennales, fairs, exhibitions, build online visibility. I don't need to say that you guys are Gen Z, you should know, but I can share some ideas later about what I do with my own site. I have 2 sites. I think you were asking me, why am I having 2 sites? One site is for my waka. As I go, this embassy invited me, this one invited me. I will just be showing that one. But one site is purely for my art and my studio. So the person that is looking at it will not get confused. What is he? Is he an artist or is he up and down person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I'm dealing with core collectors, I send them one handle. When I'm dealing with the vast majority of the public that don't understand art but think that I'm a celebrity, I send them that. And then say, so I just be showing them that one. But the people that really want to know the core things, I put them on the other one. So that's that. Next slide. Document your work professionally, not just that I had like 3 lines on that work, sir. Not just professionally, get other people to write. Don't be afraid to ask your friend to write about you. Especially people that are good at writing, that have that ability. And get competent writers to interrogate you and your work. Collaborate across disciplines. This is the next frontier. The reason why I was accepted in the Royal College of Art was the fact that I had a science background. My first degree was in science before I went to art school. So they were looking for who is coming from multiplicity of backgrounds, not just a core person that is only used to a particular set of things, so that they know we can explore different subjects in our conceptual forms, okay? Engage ethically, sustainability, and community impact matter. Let it be your watchword. This is what I do. I believe that my art and my life and everything I do should leave a better world than the one I found myself in. Okay? I must leave a better world than the one I found myself in. So that is one of the 4 values I have. Study art history and seek to position your work in context. I study art history, so when I'm talking about my work, I'm putting myself in the middle of a storyline. Okay? You can't just be, if they say, come and defend your work, sir, this is about fish. My uncle used to be a fisherman and it's good. You can start from there. But that is okay for one level of audience. But if you're now talking to another level of audience, you need to put context to your work. They should be able to say that, okay, who are your influences? Who are the people you used to? Oh, I grew up looking at the works of this person at this period. I like the influence of this person. By the time you start talking like the collectors, they'll be shaking their head. Huh, this one seems to know what he's saying. Okay? So, last slide. Have I kept my time? I've jumped time.
Yeah, once you are done with it,
I'm okay.
yes, sir.
All right, so that is it. African art has evolved through rupture, resistance, and radical reimagination. African art has evolved. It's not yet to evolve. It has evolved, though. You better enter the wagon. Through rupture, we were ruptured by colonial influences. Resistance, people resisted it, and now radical reimagination. They're reimagining the future. Your local vision has global relevance. Don't neglect your local vision. Any questions before I close? These are my handles. That's my wife and myself. That's the US ambassador. This is in his dining room. It's in the USA Department Art Collection. I call it Hamilton's Romance. It's a mixed media work. And I'm trying to show the beauty of Nigeria using that work. So I just use that as my only single to show you that though all this English is talking, is he doing any art? Yes, I'm doing it. All right. Thank you very much.